Another day, another story. ASTANA/TBILISI/Baku, an Embraer passenger jet crashed near the city of Aktau in Kazakhstan on December 25, killing 38 people, after diverting from an area of Russia that Moscow has recently defended against Ukrainian drone attacks. 29 survivors received hospital treatment. Azerbaijan Airlines flight J28243 had flown hundreds of miles off its scheduled route from Azerbaijan to Russia to crash on the opposite shore of the Caspian Sea, after what Russia's aviation watchdog said was an emergency that may have been caused by a bird strike. But an aviation expert suggested that cause seemed unlikely. Welcome to Tabo Eminent Channel. Officials did not immediately explain why it had crossed the sea, but the crash came after Ukrainian drone strikes this month hit the Chechnya region of southern Russia. The nearest Russian airport on the plane's flight path was closed on December 25 morning. Kyiv has not acknowledged strikes this month on the Chechen city of Grozny, where the flight was headed. Azerbaijan President Ilham Aliyev said according to information he had received, the plane changed course due to poor weather, but he added the cause of the crash was unknown and must be fully investigated. Video of the crash showed the plane descending rapidly before bursting into flames as it hit the seashore, and thick black smoke then rising. Bloodied and bruised passengers could be seen stumbling from a piece of the fuselage that had remained intact. Reuters was able to verify from visible landmarks that the video was filmed on the Caspian shore near Aktau. 62 passengers and 5 crew were aboard. The death toll was disclosed by Deputy Prime Minister Kanat Bozumbayev in a meeting with an Azerbaijani delegation in Aktau, Russian news agency Interfax reported. Kazakhstan's Emergencies Ministry said in a statement that fire services had put out the blaze and that the survivors, including 2 children, were being treated at a nearby hospital. The bodies of the dead were being recovered. Azerbaijan Airlines said the Embraer 190 jet was flying from Baku to Grozny in southern Russia, but had been forced to make an emergency landing around 3 kilometers from Aktau in Kazakhstan. Preliminary, after a collision with birds, due to an emergency situation on board, its commander decided to go to an alternate airfield. Aktau was chosen, Russia's aviation watchdog said on Telegram. But a collision with birds typically results in the plane landing in the nearest available field, said analyst Richard Oberlafia, of consultancy Aerodynamic Advisory. You can lose control of the plane, but you don't fly wildly off course as a consequence. Kazakhstan's main transport prosecutor, Mr. Timur Suleymanov, told a briefing in the country's capital Astana that the plane's black box, which contains flight data to help determine the cause of a crash, had been found, Interfax reported. Russian airport on flight path was shut. Aktau is on the opposite shore of the Caspian Sea from Azerbaijan and Russia. Commercial aviation tracking websites tracked the flight flying north on its scheduled route along the west coast before its flight path was no longer recorded. It then reappeared on the east coast, circling near Aktau airport before crashing into the beach. Authorities in 2 Russian regions adjacent to Chechnya, Ingushetia, and North Ossetia, reported drone strikes on December 25 morning. An official at Makhachkala Airport in Russia on the west coast of the Caspian, the airport closest to where the flight disappeared from tracking, told Reuters it had been closed to incoming traffic for several hours on December 25 morning. Reuters could not immediately reach officials at the airport in Grozny. Authorities in Kazakhstan said a government commission had been set up to investigate what had happened and its members ordered to fly to the site and ensure that the families of the dead and injured were getting the help they needed. Kazakhstan would cooperate with Azerbaijan on the investigation, the government said. Azerbaijan Airlines suspended flights from Baku to Russia's Chechnya region until the investigation is complete, Russia's state TASS news agency reported, citing the company. President Vladimir Putin expressed his condolences. Mr. Aliyev, the president of Azerbaijan, had decided to return home from Russia where he had been due to attend a summit on December 25, his office said. Mr. Ramzan Kadyrov, the Kremlin-backed leader of Chechnya, expressed his condolences in a statement and said some of those being treated in hospital were in an extremely serious condition and that he and others would pray for their rapid recovery. A harrowing video taken by a passenger inside the cabin of an aircraft that crashed in Kazakhstan today has been shared widely on social media, showing the final moments of the doomed plane. 38 people were killed in the crash near Aktau, an oil and gas hub on the eastern shore of the Caspian Sea. In the video, the passenger is heard saying Allahu Akbar, God is great, as the plane goes into a steep descent. Yellow oxygen masks were seen dangling over the seats. Screaming and crying were heard, amid the soft doorbell-like sound of the wear seatbelt light. The plane was flying from the Azerbaijani capital Baku on the western shore of the Caspian to the city of Grozny in Chechnya in southern Russia. Azerbaijan Airlines, the country's flag carrier, said the plane made an emergency landing around 3 kilometers from Aktau. Another video taken inside the cabin, the plane's ceiling panel that has reading lights and air blower is upside down, showed people screaming for help. The video was clearly after the plane had crashed. Blood stains on some armrests were visible. Azerbaijani authorities said 32 people survived the crash of the Embraer 190, a narrow-body passenger aircraft. Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev declared Thursday a day of national mourning and cancelled a planned visit to Russia for an informal summit of leaders of the Commonwealth of Independent States, CIS, a grouping of former Soviet nations. The Kazakh Emergency Situations Ministry said its staff put out a fire which broke out when the plane crashed. The Health Ministry said a special flight was being sent from the Kazakh capital Astana with specialist doctors to treat the injured. Russian President Vladimir Putin held a phone conversation with Aliyev and also expressed his condolences in connection with the crash, his spokesman Dmitry Peskov told a news conference. A Russian Emergency Situations Ministry had been sent to Aktau with medical personnel and other equipment, President Putin said later as he opened the CIS leaders' meeting in St. Petersburg. Chechen leader Ramzan Kadyrov said on Telegram, I express my condolences to the relatives of the passengers of the Azerbaijan Airlines jet who died. The plane's course on flight radar showed it crossing the Caspian Sea away from its normal route and then circling over the area where it eventually crashed. The Kazakh Transport Ministry said the plane was carrying 37 nationals from Azerbaijan, 6 from Kazakhstan, 3 from Kyrgyzstan and 16 from Russia. The plane's course on the flight radar website showed it flying away from its normal route, crossing the Caspian Sea and then circling over the area where it eventually crashed near Aktau. Footage taken by passengers among the purported videos of the crash surfacing on social media. One was taken by a passenger aboard the Azerbaijan Airlines flight, capturing the terrifying moments before and after the mishap, revealing the chaotic scenes inside the aircraft. Another video circulating on social media captured a man praying moments before the crash as sounds of panic and the roar of the plane's engine fill the background. Thanks for watching. Request you to subscribe the channel.